Are you addicted to brioche knitting, but you're not quite sure how to weave in those ends? Well, I'm going to show you 3 ways how to secure your ends in 2-color brioche fabric. Let's get to it. The first way to secure your ends in 2-color brioche is to knit the tail together with the working strand of yarn. So I'm going to purl a new contrast color stitch with a new color, and then carry the tail alongside the working strand of yarn and continue to work brioche. Slipping with a yarn over and purling or knitting. So it's 2 strands together, and that's going to anchor the tail of yarn into the fabric. And do that for at least 7 or 8 stitches, 2 strands together. And then after you're done, just snip that tail of yarn about right here. And that's going to secure the tail of yarn in. The other way, if you don't want to do that, that adds a little bit of extra bulk to the fabric. So I have all these ends from my previous contrast colors. I'm going to put them onto a tapestry needle and make sure you poke them to the wrong side. I like to weave in my ends on the wrong side. And one way is to go underneath the knit stitch and then go into the purl bump. Go underneath the next knit stitch, and here's that purl bump. Just sew into that purl bump. Underneath the next knit stitch, and into the next purl bump. Do that for maybe 8 to 10 times. That's plenty. And then once you're done, you can just snip the tail of yarn right here, and you shouldn't be able to see it too much on the wrong side. You might see a little bit more of that contrast color, but at first glance, it's really nice and tucked in there. And on the right side, you definitely don't see it at all. So that's what I use most often, is underneath the knit stitch into the purl bump. Let's do that one more time with this green color. I'll show you looking at the fabric this way, going underneath a knit stitch and into a purl bump. If you want to double up, let's double time it. I'm going underneath a knit stitch and immediately going into the purl bump. Ooh, I just got a 2 for 1. Underneath the knit stitch and into the purl bump. When you go into the purl bump, you could just grab one strand. I usually grab both strands of the main color and the contrast color. It's a little bit quicker. Under, and get that purl bump. And then pull it through, snip the yarn. Don't snip it too close to the fabric. Snip it about right there, so that when you block the fabric, there's a little bit of stretch that can happen. But look at that, that looks so nice. And the right side, you don't even see it. Okay, one more option, how to weave in your ends, is to take a tail of yarn and you can trace the path of a stitch. So I see this gold stitch traveling this way. So you're just gonna trace that journey of a stitch and duplicate it. Okay, where's that gold strand going? It's going here, here. There's the gold strand. It's going down into the gray. This takes a little bit longer, so if you're doing this method, I think it's best just to do the first method I showed, where you're knitting the short tail together with the working yarn as you knit your fabric. This method, it's okay, but it takes a really long time to trace. So give it a try, but if you're finding it difficult to follow the path of the yarn, then just go back to the purl bump, under the knit stitch, into the purl bump, under the knit stitch. And again, I always do this on the wrong side of my brioche ribbing, whatever you think the wrong side is. Sometimes it's hard to tell. The right side and wrong side both look good. So pick a side, trim the yarn, block your fabric, and enjoy that beautiful brioche. So now you have zero excuses when it comes to brioche knitting. You know how to weave in the ends, how to knit the ends in. If you haven't caught the brioche bug yet, there's a link down below to learn how to knit 2-color brioche. And I'll also link to my Bubbles Brioche Shawl. I have a video showing you how to cast on, how to knit brioche for English style and continental style knitting. So check out those videos, learn a new technique, and share all your progress on Instagram with #Westknits, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.